the button. Now we've got it. Very good. This is the August 14 meeting of the City of College Place Utility and Transportation Advisory Commission meeting. It's both hybrid and in person. We will take a look at the agenda. It's a consent agenda. And before we do, let's call roll. We have started the meeting at 3:30 p.m.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Commission Member Larson?
Here.
Commission Chair Kress?
Here.
Commission Chair Williams?
Present.
Commissioner Gomez?
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Just came in.
And Commission Member Riggle? Here. We do have a quorum.
Full slate. I would entertain a motion that we approve the consent agenda for August 14, 2025.
So I motion to approve the minutes.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Okay, I'm so sorry. I think so. Commission Member Gomez said he approves the minutes. It needs to be a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Got it. Okay, so I move to approve the consent agenda. There you go.
Commissioner Williams, second.
Thank you. Those in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried. One item on our agenda, which is a presentation. And we have looked at this several times before. Mr. Spencer Montgomery will speak to the final draft of the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. Mr. Montgomery, since we have reviewed this in detail, by my count, I think it's maybe 3 times. I would ask for that we consider only those things which pertain to changes since the last time we did this.
For sure. That's a great idea. And it's been more than 3 times. I think this is my 5th regular meeting with you. So I know that you're all familiar with this, although I don't believe that the draft document was available the last time we met in May. So there's basically, we've taken the things that we showed to you, during the course of the last year and put those into the tables and figures and things that are required by the US DOT grant and surrounded it with the appropriate text. And there are some things that are new here, but I thought probably the easiest way is my screen isn't showing yet, is it?
No, sir, you should be able to share.
Okay.
Oh, I have to stop. Okay,
I thought maybe you could
okay, try it now.
There it is.
We're seeing you, but I'm hearing you say that since we have these things in writing, we will we'll simply have you summarize changes that are pertinent to this consideration.
Yeah. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So there are 7 things required in Safety Action Plan. There's a chapter in the document on each one of these. A leadership commitment, setting a goal of 0 fatalities and 0 serious injuries. And I'll just briefly talk about these.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Can you blow that up?
Oh, I should be able to do that. A little better. Let me go a little bit bigger here still. How's that?
Much better.
Okay. So there's these 7 components of the safety action plan. Let me just briefly mention them. There is a chapter on each of these in the document. I'm hoping that you had a chance to at least go through it a little bit. I do have the whole document on my screen. If there's anything in particular that you would like to discuss together. But I'll just briefly mention these. The leadership commitment is basically a resolution by the city council, and there's a draft in Appendix A of the document. And I should note that the city council actually adopted such a resolution in 2022. We did update the statistics in that a little bit, and we kept the goal year of 2032 the same. The second component is the planning structure. That's been primarily the UTAC and the work that we've done with you folks. The safety analysis, we've shown you all kinds of tables and maps and things like that that are discussed in the document that looks at the kinds of accidents and the trends and which locations are the most prevalent for collisions and crashes in the city. The engagement collaboration had to do with the public involvement outreach, where we got over 450 comments, and those are discussed, and we've identified some projects that could be pursued by the city that were recommended by the public. Policy and process changes, we talked about this a little bit as well previously about some updates to the Complete Streets policy and the ADA transition plan. We mentioned the blue zones documents that have been prepared for the city and the region before, and some of the things that recommendations have come out of there. There are some strategies that we've discussed in the project selections and project selections and lists of projects. The guidance from the safety action plans that comes from US DOT is that a list or multiple lists. And so we have included multiple lists of projects that were recommended through the safety analysis to address hotspots, so to speak, where collisions are happening. We've got lists for intersections, for roadway segments. We've also got prioritization lists that we've talked with you about before. And then something that's I talked about briefly in May, I think, was that one of the requirements is to identify how you're going to measure project progress. Are you getting projects done? Are you implementing the policy changes that have been recommended? And then also, when projects are built on the ground, are they being effective at reducing crashes? So that's just a high level refresher for you. And I can go into more detail on any of these if you have questions, if you have comments, if you think we've left anything out. I didn't want to hold you here and just talk through the whole thing again unless there's something specific that you'd like us to look at. So I've got the safety action plan here on my screen as well. I can go to any particular page and zoom in on any tables if you'd like me to. So I'll leave it at that and let the group discuss or ask questions, or if you want more detail on the policy changes or the transparency issues, just let me know.
So let's ask each of the commissioners if there are questions specific to what we've received for this meeting.
So I have a question. Can I?
Yes.
So this question is for Robert. The document looks great, by the way. I don't have any comments on the document. I went through the document a couple of times, this time and various other times when it was presented in prior times. Basically what I'm thinking about now is next steps. So, this document is going to be adopted at the end of the month. And also thinking about, the transportation element for the land use plan, the comprehensive plan that is, and just trying to see how this information is going to be integrated into the transportation element of the comp plan. So like, for instance, this document has a list of projects, and some of those list of projects are also included in the MPO plan as well. And which is great, because that means those are projects that are eligible for federal funding. And these projects supposedly we're going to be seeking federal funding because this is a federal document. So anyways, just kind of that transition, this is going to be adopted at the end of the month. How do you get integrate this information into the transportation element?
Yeah, that is a good question. We have a lot of projects underway now that we're currently working on, and some of that stuff is highlighted in here. There's some things that the Public Works Department is working on separately that's also highlighted in here already. So we're going to have to figure out exactly how to integrate that and have some follow through. I imagine we'll utilize this document in helping decide which projects to move forward on in the future and to how to find funding for them. And but I don't know that I have a really good answer for you at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll know as you go through the transportation element.
Yeah.
Which will be probably sometime next year, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe JUB will be helping with the comprehensive plan. We've already collected some traffic volumes last fall that will be used for some of the analysis for the comprehensive plan. And I would think that at a minimum, we would include this document by reference and may have, you know, a brief summary of that, or I should say of this document, brief summary of at least the kinds of lists and kinds of projects that are in the safety action plan.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams, I see your hand raised. You have some questions or observations?
I kind of wanted to sort of, my main observation or question fits well with what we were just talking about, which is I appreciate this document, but it's not clear to me exactly when we get the data. I know on accidents, I know it lags, and I'm sure you remember that I keep bringing up, there was a major accident on 4th Street, you know, well, I went back and double checked, and that happened right at the very, very beginning of 2024, which is why it's not in this data.
Oh,
Which
yes.
made me think about maybe we should have a paragraph somewhere that says, you know, every year in October or whenever the data comes out, we will look at our accident data for the, you know, the newest accident data. And based on that, we may adjust our priorities. So like if there's a big accident, you know, a year from now, we shouldn't need to redo the entire document, but we may go, oh, this project should come higher up on the priority list. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Some of that is discussed in this chapter of progress and transparency.
Did I miss that?
For the tracking? It's just one page. It's not much, but it does commit the city. It commits the city to measuring progress in 2 meaningful ways, looking at projects and the projects that get constructed and then track rates at those intersections and roadway segments to see if collision rates go down.
What page
And
are you looking at?
this is page 30.
Okay.
And then, so this document does need to be posted on the city's website, a publicly accessible safety outcome summary. Displays available crash data, including the number, type, severity of crashes, which is included in this document, but we can track it. We've already actually set up a 5-year rolling average of accidents, and we've got history beyond the 5 years that were studied as part of this. And we did get 2024 data since this draft was completed. So WashDOT used to be a lot further behind than they are now. Usually we can get it in the spring for the previous year.
Yeah, because so what sorry, I'm having a hard time trying to keep my document and my meeting where I'm in the right spots. So I read that as tracking what it happens with the projects that we've done. And so I think it might be helpful to add something in about, you know, we talk about that we're going to do progress and implementation, and that we're going to look at the safety outcome summary, but it seems to be tied to the projects that we've done. And I want to be sure that the projects that we haven't done yet, we may want to revise the priority based on new data as it comes in.
Okay,
So for example, in our general capital projects plan, we have like I don't remember, Robert will have to help me out, but it's a very long range plan. It's like 20 years or something. But every year we reevaluate the short-term priorities.
okay.
And so that's the kind of comment that I kind of think would be important to have this in here.
I think you're talking about our transportation improvement plan and or our capital facilities plan that we review and update annually.
Yeah, and I don't remember how far out that goes, but you know, every year we look at it at city council as usually as part of the budget, and we're like, okay,
So the capital
still
facility-
agree with our priorities.
Yeah, the capital facilities plan, we try to lay out 6 years. And it's generally the same with the TIP, the transportation improvement plan, although Mike historically had put some things on there as, I can't remember the exact terminology he used, long-term, 10 years or more or something. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
like
Something like that.
long-term priorities that are added in and not really identified a specific year, but they're there. So if funding or the priority changed, the funding could still be eligible because they're on the TIP.
Yeah, and I'm especially thinking of things, for example, that were in table 9, where it's like, okay, these are things that the public came up with that are very possibly low cost, but they're not specifically part of any project that we have right now. And I think I was the public on one of those because
Right, yeah.
it was because of that pedestrian accident, where. And it was the child of one of engineering's employees that
This one here,
which I did not find it in which
maybe that last bullet right there.
you mean in table 9?
Yes,
Yeah.
I put it up on the screen here.
I'm not seeing that.
I think that's the area that you were talking about, right? 4th Street West of College.
Yeah, what page is that? Because I can't see it on your screen.
This is
There
page
we go.
24.
Yeah, remove parking on the north side of 4th Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one because it was, yeah, that was exactly what happened. I also would, anyway, that's a whole other thing. Yes, that's the one.
So, Mr. Montgomery, I think I hear you saying that there is, in response to Commissioner Williams' observation and question, there is within this document, the Safety Action Plan, a specified pathway to annually reevaluate based on new data.
Yes. Although I'll be honest, I didn't want to commit the city to something that could be challenging from different perspectives, right? And I think, and I was looking for it here, I think we put it every 2 years at a minimum, but that would allow you to do it more often if you want.
Yeah, and I just
Yeah,
didn't
at
see.
least biannually.
Right. And I agree that I don't think we want to commit the city that, we will revise the priority every year or whatever. But I think it would be, I didn't see anything in here about specifically how priorities get revised over time. I may have missed that, but just a sentence along with that, that says, as we receive updates to crash data, we may revise priorities. I think would make it really.
Okay.
Or maybe just add that phrase to that sentence.
Okay.
So question from the chair, do we need a motion to that effect just to get it into the minutes? And I think I hear Mr. Montgomery saying that that's not a problem to add that
Right.
phrase.
So just to let you know, my thought process here is that after our discussion here, when I take this to city council, because they've had this document as well, I will let them know what your comments were and what changes that would create for the safety action plan. So if this group wants to make those recommendations now, I guess in my view, it might be, let me adjust a couple of things here. There's a discussion here about prioritization right here at the bottom of page 25, I think it is 26. And we looked at a whole bunch of different factors that contribute to making a street less safe and less safe from a fatality and serious injury perspective, right? And this primarily focuses around pedestrian bicycle collisions, right? Because those are the ones that are going to be more likely to be killed or seriously injured. Okay, the city, and I've told you this before, the city doesn't have very many fatalities and serious injuries, which is an awesome thing for you guys. And if we can reduce that, which is the goal, we would want to do that. And the best way to do that would be to reduce the likelihood that a pedestrian is walking in the street. And where are those more likely? So where there aren't sidewalks, where there's schools and more pedestrians, where there's transit stops that people might need to walk to, things like that, where there's more traffic. So this list right here on my screen that carries over to the next page, where's the public interested in improvements, lack of sidewalks, safe routes, transits. So these things could be used to help to prioritize any project in the city, not just safety projects, right? And so we've taken all that data and put it into a couple of tables. Table 11, this would be on page 28 and 29. So there's a table that prioritizes all of the major intersections in the city with all those points, and it lists them from the most likely to have those collisions, damaging collisions, and then another table on road segments. And these are for the functionally classified road network, so not your local residential streets. Some of those could be added to this if they are, safe routes to schools, things like that. But we focused on the network that has the most collisions and the higher speeds. So there's two ways to address this, Commissioner Williams, is in this prioritization section, right? That could be referred to also back in the section on the, not the strategy and project selection, but the section before that is on policy and process changes. So it's only 2 pages long. But we talk in here, several of these policies are safety related, and these are some of the existing policies in the city's documents, the comprehensive plan, the municipal code, and the blue zone had some recommendations for policy changes. And then also in the city's design standards. So there could be, if you wanted, some discussion at the bottom of this that says, use more information from the safety action plan to help set priorities for the transportation improvement program or whatever. But there's a lot of projects in there, and we listed all those projects in this document because they have the potential of improving safety conditions, right? But they may not necessarily be a safety project. They might be for capacity or for connectivity or extension of an existing street or something like that, right?
Spencer, sorry to interrupt you.
You're fine.
I have a quick question on this. Is this intended to be more of a living document like Commissioner Williams is talking about with updating it, or is this intended to be the 2025 safety action plan? Because the action item is to adopt and recommend, approve it and to recommend adoption to the council of the 25. And I guess my question is, if we're getting hung up on how we're going to update it annually, and if that delays the adoption of this, are we looking at that correctly?
I think that the USDOT for some of their other grant programs requires a safety action plan to be updated every 5 years, which is typical for a lot of other planning documents, transportation plans and things like that. Like our comprehensive plans, the state requires that they are updated regularly too, not annually, but every 5 years, or and they may have changed that recently to allow a couple more years for some slower growing communities. So I don't anticipate this to be a living document that we'd update every year, but there are some things that are called for in this and by the USDOT that there be some monitoring, and that monitoring I think can be done, separately.
And just
Go
to
ahead.
clarify what I was thinking is, I was assuming that this would not be a living document. That it would, be, and I was thinking more on the like 10 years, which is why I wanted it to say somewhere that, if we got new data that had showed things that we hadn't taken into account, that we could, in our workings, elevate things in priority, essentially. So the fact that this is the priority list in this document does not mean that priority 6 is always going to be priority 6, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. And that might make it meaningful, I think, to add it at the end here where you were talking about. Let me see if I can get that page. Sorry. In this progress and transparency, somewhere on this page here, to add a sentence. And what I wrote down was, as data is updated, the city may update priorities accordingly.
Yeah.
And that gives you something to point at as you have your council discussions that say, I think this warrants us, updating these 2 tables or whatever, right?
Or even if the document doesn't change, if we are saying we want to fund this project before that one, we say, even though it's lower in priority in the safety plan, since then we have found information that says blah, 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 and that's why we're doing it. And so that way we have a good, we have a rationale, but we're also not handcuffed by this plan.
Right, right.
Right.
Well, and quite honestly, as jurisdictions seek for outside funding, it's always nice to have a list that says this is our top priority, right?
Right.
Like this is our worst one, or for however you came up with those priorities. And so that's kind of why we created in this document multiple lists. That this is the intersection that has the most collisions, but this is the intersection that has the most priority. So you can use whichever one is to your best advantage.
Right. So I think the question particularly pertains to what we hope does not occur, which is an unfortunate outlying event that causes us to rethink that priority. And it does sound like there is a pathway to do that kind of reconsideration, which is very different than a wholesale annual review or update of the document. I think I hear you saying, Mr. Montgomery, that either by the addition of the clause that we've just talked about, or within the document and its provisions right now, that can be done.
I would agree. Yes.
Is that sufficient, Commissioner Williams, to address the concern?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Sorry, my mouse, I click it, but apparently not hard enough.
Yeah, yeah. Well, good point. So I'm going to ask other observations or questions. Are there additional things you'd like to speak to Mr. Montgomery before we talk about the recommendation that will come from this commission to the city council for adoption of the document that you have worked hard on and the committee has spent a good bit of, the council has spent a good time on, as well as this commission?
No, we've kind of hit the things that I thought were probably newer than all the analysis and stuff that we've talked about previously. So I'm glad we had the discussion that we did today. That makes me comfortable that you guys know what's in here.
Okay, I'm going to ask for one more round. Anybody that raised your hand? Yep. Do I see, who do I see there raising your hand? Oh, maybe that's me waving my own hand on the screen.
You have a question?
No, my question is, do you have any questions, additional questions or observations, commissioners?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't either.
Well, I want to thank the commissioners, and I want to thank as well Mr. Montgomery for excellent work that I think will help us achieve the very objectives that brought this thing to us, which is a safer, healthier community. It's a good action plan.
Thank you. It's been a good learning experience, and I'm glad we could help out.
Okay, the one action agenda item has your name, Mr. McAndrews, on it, which is the passage of the safety action plan. It will be up to the commissioners to make that recommendation. So would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add. Really, this is just the recommendation to approve the safety action plan as presented and recommend adoption to council. So I guess if there are recommendations to make some changes, I'm not sure how to address that through this motion.
And I think everybody's got a copy of that in front of them. Is that right?
Something that we've done when we, at another commission, is that there were a couple of specified updates that were verbally read out, and then the motion, or verbally agreed upon like we did just now. And then in the motion, it said recommended adoption with specified amendments.
Do we need to make that kind of statement as we make a motion to approve the roadway safety action plan? Or did we conclude that the document itself makes provision for that already?
I thought we talked about making one very minor change.
And do you have some wording for us that would help us? We can incorporate that into our motion to approve.
Well, how about I make a motion and then you can say if that's not what you want, it can die for lack of a second.
We'll entertain that, yes.
I would move we approve the 2025 College Place roadway safety action plan with minor adjustments to prioritization process as discussed and recommend adoption by council resolution.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Commissioner
Does that
Ridden.
work for you, Spencer?
Well, I guess I wrote a sentence down. Would it be easier to put that sentence in your motion than it would be to say as discussed?
We could do that.
Let's hear the sentence.
Well, I put, and I'm not sure exactly where it would go, but it would go in the progress and transparency section. And what I wrote was, as data is updated, maybe that word should be, as new data is obtained, the city may update priorities accordingly.
Are you willing, Commissioner Williams, to incorporate that into your main motion?
Absolutely.
And Commissioner Riggle, the second.
I second.
All right. So that's some language we agree on that I believe can be helpful. We hope we don't have to face this by way of some catastrophic outlier. If we do, it sounds like the motion creates a clear pathway to do some reconsideration as needed. Okay, it's
Thank
been
you.
seconded. Any discussion germane to this motion? I'll call then for a vote of the commission on this. Let me grab my notes for a moment. It would be on the bottom of the page, of course. Okay. We'll call for the vote, commissioner by commissioner. Shawna Larson, Commissioner Larson. How do you vote? This is a recommendation to the council that we're approving this as the friendly amendment it was considered. We are recommending to the we're adopting this or approving this and recommending that the commission city commission do the same.
Commissioner Larson, I vote yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Central Washington.
Commissioner Gomez.
Yes.
Commissioner Riggle.
Yes.
The ayes have it. It is approved. We have a document that will go to the city council. And again, I want to thank all parties involved. We've spent a good bit of time on this, and I believe this will be very helpful. I think your yes votes mean that you also share that belief that this will be helpful for our entire community. Thank you. Without further ado,
On the agenda, sorry to interrupt, not on the agenda. I was planning to give a verbal update on projects if the commission's interested.
commission is interested. Let's do that.
Okay. I'll try to go quickly, but we have quite a bit going on.
Okay.
By my count, we have 10 or 11, depending how you look at it, what I would call active construction projects. And that would range anything from just wrapping up, finishing to going out to bid for a start of construction in early 26. And then of roughly about 15 more projects that we're working on design on. So our capital projects manager and I are very busy working with lots of consultants on these, but so I'll try to go through them quickly. Our wastewater treatment plant phase 1A project, that's the upgrades to the headworks and some upgrades on site of the existing treatment plant is about 80% complete, should be wrapped up by mid-October. And then moving into phase 1B, the plan is to hopefully be able to bid that out late this year, moving into construction on that next year. And that's the building a giant holding lagoon on the hill up above the treatment plant. to be able to hold treated effluent so it can be discharged at the times we're allowed to. Reservoir 4 is our 1 million gallon water tower. We're finalizing design on that. Planning to be able to bid that early next year. The final design was to accommodate the ability to, at a future date, probably far into the future, but we want to make sure there was room for it to be able to punch Owens Road all the way through. So the reservoir will be up on the hill above the gun range, kind of sitting between the Homestead neighborhood and our wastewater treatment plant. Then there's well 8. That's the new well that was drilled down off of Teal Road. Our RH2 is finalizing the building design and pump design. Now that we have a little better idea of what the gallons per minute will be, and the plan will be to bid that late this year, moving into construction beginning next year. Then there's the Majonier Road project. We are nearly through a right-of-way acquisition. We have going to council on the 26th. The ordinance, I believe, that we need to be able to move into condemnation with potentially 3 properties. It sounds like 2 of the property owners recently reached out to our right-of-way acquisition company wanting to talk again. So maybe we might avoid that with those 2. The rest are, I think there's less than a handful of others that just need to get documents signed and through title. So the plan with Majonier will be to wrap that up, obligate construction funds. Andy, I still don't know if we're going.
I had a long conversation with Norman.
Okay. We are doing our best. It's still not sure that we're going to meet the end of the federal fiscal year for that, but we will be shortly behind that. And if not, if we don't meet that deadline, and moving into construction, advertising, bidding late this year with the construction starting early next year. The one caveat is if we are in condemnation, we need to get possession and use from that property owner to be able to move forward. And so, or those property owners if there's more than one. So with any luck, we'll be in construction of Majonier early next year. Then we've got the Lions Park project, which is substantially complete. There's still some punch list items, in particular with landscaping, and some stuff with the pond that need to be wrapped up and finalized. But hopefully you've all had a chance to enjoy our new park. And as we wrap up the punch list items, it'll become even a little bit better. Then we've got Southeast 8th Street sidewalk project / projects. I kind of look at it as one project. We have to handle it as 2 separate projects because of funding. So that's putting sidewalk on the south side of Southeast 8th Street. Project 1 is federalized, and that's from College Avenue to Birch. And the other project is from Birch to Larch, which doesn't have federal funding in it. So it's handled a little bit differently. Those are both planned to be advertised for construction, I think August 23rd, if I have my dates correct. So here in the next week or so, and opening bids in early September. So those projects will be under construction with a quick timeline to try to get the bulk of it wrapped up this year. Then our Lift Station 5 project is another one that was recently completed. There's a few minor punch list items, but that's our lift station project over on Southwest First, along with road upgrades and new sidewalks. It really improved that neighborhood. And if you haven't driven down Southwest First between Academy and essentially Whitman, it's a major improvement from what it was before. I would encourage you to take a look. The next active one is our Rose Street Lights project that's adding street lights on the south side of Rose Street, essentially from College Avenue to Cary Court, and a little bit of lighting on the north side as well, from Wallula Lambert to Cary Court. And that is out to add right now. And we open bids on Monday. So we should be moving forward on that project real quickly. Then we've got our fire station energy upgrades. So that's working with McKinstry to do energy updates, HVAC, not really utility or transportation related, but I figured I'd mention it. A big project over at the fire station, improving the life of our mechanical and electrical equipment there, and that'll be starting this fall. And then the last one that I would say is active is our Birch Street and 6th Street project in this on Birch from 4th to 6th. It involves adding sidewalk, stormwater improvements, water and sewer, and then on 6th Street, water and storm, essentially from Birch to Bade. And so that'll be a big project that'll go out to add here this fall or winter, and with a planned start in construction as early as possible next year, because it's going to be an entire construction season project. So we've got a lot going on. Those are what I would say are active construction projects. On top of that, we've got, like I said, about 15 more that we're working on design. One is make sure I don't miss anything. Safe routes to school projects. So there's 2 of those that we tied together for one RFQ to select a consultant. We are in negotiations with that consultant right now, so we can get design moving forward on the 2 safe routes to school projects. Those are, one of them's surrounded or adjacent to Davis Elementary, and the other one's adjacent to Sager. So it's adding, see if I can remember all the components of these, adding sidewalks on Ash Street, north of Whitman. So I think it's from A Street to Whitman. Then rechannelizing Birch Street from 2nd to 4th. Ultimately, I think that'll one-way that road and add sidewalks, I think, to the west side. And then an RRFB crossing at 4th Street. I think there's also maybe an RRFB crossing at Whitman. And then the other one at Sager is adding sidewalk down Central Avenue from 12th all the way down to essentially Lamperty down at the wall. Most likely revamping that ramp that goes down to actually tie into Lamperty, then an RRFB across Lamperty to Walmart. I think that's most of that one. I'm probably missing something, but there's a lot of components to these. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna bring up one project. How about the Whitman Trail project? I'm interested in that one.
Haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
It's on my list. I'll jump to it.
Okay.
The Whitman multi-use path project. That is the one. That's the one we're in negotiations with the consultant on right now. What did I say that on? Whitman multi-use path is one we're in negotiations with the consultant on. So we put out the RFQ, selected a consultant, and are hammering in on, how many hours and what's all going to be involved in that. Is looking like it's like a little bit over what our initial budget was, but I think we should still be able to move forward with that. So we should have the consultant on board and then be able to authorize PE funds here shortly.
Yeah, I had some selfish reasons for that. We'll be talking about that next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not needing it obligated by September, are you?
This rate, we're not going to be our targets.
Okay. Okay. It's in process for sure. There's going to be some right of way acquisition involved in that, and we're trying to figure out exactly what it looks like because there's a design element with that as well. So, but that project is essentially an infill in the Whitman multi-use path from Academy to, is it Davis Evans? And so there's a large or a block or so that has no sidewalk whatsoever, and another block or so that has just a narrow 4 or 5 foot sidewalk. And the plan is to make that whole section, I don't remember off the top of my head, it's 10 or 12 feet, but to match our multi-use path on either side. So it's connecting the multi-use path all the way through on Whitman, which will be a great project. Did you have something to add, Andy?
No, I'm going to talk to you after this meeting.
Okay, sounds good. And then there's the Brentwood Place stormwater outfall project. So we have an outfall on Brentwood Place, which is across the street from Lions Park, where we have funding to design and construct some filtration for an outfall. That one also, the current outfall is actually routed underneath a home, which is not great. So we're gonna spend a little extra money and relocate the outfall after it's after the treatment's involved. And then another stormwater design on Southwest 10th, so from College Avenue all the way to Bade. It's adding curb and gutter. We're gonna put sidewalk on one side and treatment. Right now, the stormwater all just sheet flows off into the creek, so this will pre-treat that stormwater before it makes it to the creek. That'll be a good project there. Then we have a stormwater treatment project within our public works yard, and that's addressing stormwater near our fuel tanks and having that treated before it gets makes it into a piped creek that flows through there. Our Lamperti College Avenue wall design. So in the corner of Lamperti, the southeast corner of Lamperti and College Avenue, there's been a number of accidents over the years where vehicles have ran into our fence, and I think on 2 occasions actually gone over the wall. And so we have in design what's looking like it's going to be a moment slab, is I think what they call it, where it'll be more of like a concrete wall that's attached to a piece of concrete, essentially, that's all reinforced. It goes underneath the road, so it'll be reinforced and prevent people from going over that wall. And we got some funding for another stormwater project on Northwest Earl Lane. So if you've ever been through there after a heavy rain, it is commonly flooded. We're finally able to get a tie nexus to water quality and get some funding for design on that. So we'll be moving into design on a stormwater project on Earl Lane. We've been working on design essentially at 90% for a decant facility that's going to go out near the wastewater treatment plant. And we have funding in place for construction of that project as well. We're kind of pumping the brakes on it a little bit because adjacent to that property, or adjacent to that site on the same property, is with the area that was selected through our facilities needs analysis for a new public works facility. So we are actually there's a conference that I attend every year in Wenatchee called IACC. It's Infrastructure Assistance Coordinating Council. So it's essentially all the funding agencies in the state get together, talk about their funding opportunities. And I've requested what we call a tech team to sit down before that conference and talk about how to fund the public works yard and how to tie it in with the decant facility. And so there may be additional stormwater money tied to the decant facility to set a site up for the hopefully future public works yard. So that's a big one for us. We've outgrown our public works yard. We need more staff, but we don't have anywhere to put them, and we don't have room for equipment or materials either. So then there's our Reservoir 1, our existing water tower. RH2 consultants are working on a seismic retrofit project for that. So we have some funding to do seismic upgrade and ultimately to repaint that tower. The preliminary report that we got back indicated it's not as seismically unfit as I was afraid, which is a good news, but there's still some upgrades that'll need to happen. They're still doing a little bit of exploration on that and more to come. But with the next 3 to 5 years, we'll likely see some construction going on with that. I wouldn't be surprised if the whole thing ends up bagged at one point while they're doing like a remediation project before we repaint it. It'll probably have to come offline. So my goal is to get our new water tower constructed and online before we have to take that one offline. Then there's well 3 upgrades. That's our well 3s are probably our best well, which is down on Larch, kind of a kitty corner from the Hop Thief there at Larch and Lamperti. And it's kind of old, outdated equipment. We've had to take it down offline for some repairs. It doesn't have a backup generator, so we have funding for design to figure out what it's going to take to bring that back or bring that up to par with our other new wells, similar equipment, and to include a backup generator at that one. So we're getting ready to select a consultant on that. There's the Whitman and Davis lighting and sidewalks projects. So that's lighting along a portion of Whitman. I think from essentially College Avenue to Davis, and then on Davis from Whitman to 6th, and then adding sidewalks. I think between 4th and 6th. We have funding for that, or for design on that. Is that design only, Andy? Do you remember? Whitman Davis lighting, I think that's MPO related. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, we're just getting ready to go out to RFQ to select a consultant on that one as well. Then our Whitman street tree projects. So we have a large sum of money, I think in the $700,000, around $700,000 to add street trees. And so we've got JUB engineers on board, working on design to add street trees on West Whitman, essentially from Homestead out to the city limits to the west, so adjacent to Martin Airfield. So there'll be some street trees along that path, and irrigation, everything goes with that. That's in design, but kind of backburnered. As you are gathering, we have a lot going on, and we have 5 years for that funding, so it's not at the top of our priority list, I guess. Veterans Park, I think we've talked about before. We have quite a bit of funding in place for some pieces of that park upgrade, but we need some more funding, so we're working on that. But that would be pickleball courts, restrooms, basketball courts, and then reconfiguring or essentially replacing the playground and relocating it so the park is set up a little bit more user-friendly, still leaving some green space. The Veterans Park is out in the Homestead neighborhood, so it sits between Dones and Homestead. It's a great space, but it was built by a developer and was underbuilt. It has a pretty poor playground, and that's about it. It has a lot to be desired, and there's a lot of people out there that would utilize that park. So. And then the last one I'll note is our water consolidation study. So we were funded to do a water district consolidation study, which is looking at irrigation district 14, district 12, and hydro 9 being consolidated into College Place's water system, as well as what it would take to bring the section of the Garrison Villages neighborhood that is, for lack of a better term, its own water system. I think of 151 homes on 1 meter, means it's a private system, but and needs some attention. And so we are working on a consolidation study to figure out what it would take to upgrade all of that and bring it all up to par with city standards, so that it could be, all of those, I guess, districts could be consolidated into the city's water system. So it's a lot that we have going. Just a couple of us working on it, so they're busy, overwhelming days, but I'm happy to answer any questions about any of those or anything else I may have missed.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrews. By my count, you've given us a whirlwind tour of more than 25 projects here. We appreciate what you're doing. Questions, observations about what you've heard?
So I don't have any comments.
Okay. Commissioner Larson, questions, comments?
Commissioner Larson, just out of curiosity, who's doing your landscaping at Lions Park?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Could you repeat yourself?
Who's doing the landscaping at Lions Park?
So Nelson Construction is a general contractor. The sub for that project is J&B Landscaping. And I'll be careful what I say. They've been underperforming. I'll leave it there.
It's just good for me to know, because then I'll, know not to use them, but so for the did you mention, and I was trying to keep track while we were talking about, did you mention the lights that are going on the sidewalks that are going on Davis between 6th and 4th?
I did, yes. So that is one of the projects that we are getting ready to put the request for qualifications together so we can select a consultant to start working on design.
The design, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams, questions, observations?
Thank you. I'm always amazed when I am reminded again of how much work we have going on. So good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. And did we ask Commissioner Gomez?
No comment.
Okay. Commissioner Riggle?
I just wanted to ask, and maybe it's not an appropriate place to ask, but about that funding issue when there was a grant that didn't come through, and what is planned for the future with that?
Are you referring to the Lions Park grant?
I believe so.
Yeah, so to my knowledge, the city was able to infill that money that we didn't get. I think a couple other funding sources on smaller scale popped out. So I think we gained a small piece of that back through some other local funding. But we dipped into, I think, REIT funds, real estate excise tax funds that we use for parks and some other reserves to fill that gap. As far as plans for the future, I guess I'm not sure what you're asking. Yeah, I mean, it just takes time that comes from real estate excise tax. So we get money every year. That's a piece of why the Veterans Park project is kind of not moving forward as quickly as we had hoped at one point. We don't have all the funding we needed, but we also don't have as much local funds that we would use for parks as we would have otherwise, because Lions Park came in over budget and some of the funding didn't come through. And so that's where that money went. So
I appreciate the transparency. Thank you.
sure.
Thank you again, Mr. McAndrews. Unless there is anything else, I believe we are ready to conclude this meeting. I will do so by announcing that our next meeting is scheduled for November 13, 2025. And that also will be a hybrid, both in-person and electronic meeting. And I will entertain a motion that we conclude this meeting, the August 14, 2025 meeting.
So I motion to conclude.
It's been moved.
I
Second.
second.
It's been seconded. And that was Commissioner Riggle. That's seconded. Those in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Thank you for being here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not there yet, but getting there. Our meeting concluded at, I'm looking at the clock, but it's 4:34 p.m. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, Robert. Excellent report.